Give me 5 minutes and I'll turn you into a crossing god. First, let's talk about the 4 main techniques that you're gonna use. You have a curled on the ground pass. This is struck on the outside center of the ball, a little bit higher up to keep that ball low. You can use the inside part of your foot for a little bit more control, less distance, less power, or the laces of your foot for a little bit more distance, a little bit more power, but a little bit less control. Then you have the normal whipped in cross. This is struck just slightly below the outside center of the ball. And again, depending on how you want to strike the ball with a little bit more power, a little bit more control, you can use the inside part of the foot or the laces, but generally it's right in between those two areas. Next, you have the chipped or lofted cross. Still, this is struck on the outside part of the ball, but just a lot lower to get more height on it. And finally, you have the cut back cross. Typically, this is done with the laces. You really get your hips around the ball, your foot around the ball, and you strike the ball with the laces towards the center of the ball with that downward move it to create a lot of backspin, but still over the ball to keep it low. Now that you have the 4 main techniques, the next part is to effectively gather enough information to figure out which technique you need to use and where to hit the ball. Everybody talks about scanning as a center mid, but you need to scan just as much as a fullback or winger, but your scanning is done on the back line and your strikers. Simply put, the back line can either be in a high position, a mid position, or a deep or low position. They also can be recovering to their own goal, sprinting back towards their own goal, or they can be set and ready for a cross. And finally, they can be either under, even, or overly shifted. As a wide player, you should be constantly looking at that back line and asking which of these categories does this back line fall into. Now, personally, I don't believe there ever is a 100% set rule in football where if this happens, you should always do this. Because the hardest thing to mark, the hardest thing to defend against is unpredictability. And if you always just do what you should do, you always just follow the rules, then you're playing predictable. However, there are a lot of signs that you can read about the game that usually signify what that best pass is or what that best cross is. So generally speaking, anytime you see a defensive line that is high, especially if the defenders are sprinting back towards their own goal, that is a sure sign to put the ball with a curled on the ground pass into space to allow your strikers to get into a foot race towards goal. And generally you want to aim about halfway between the goalkeeper and where that back line is. Put the ball right into that space. This same concept also applies closer to goal. If you find yourself on the ball on the side of the 18 or inside the 18-yard box and you see a back line panicking, recovering, sprinting back, crashing back towards their own goal with your strikers also crashing into this box, this is a huge sign to smash the ball across the 6-yard box or in between the goalkeeper and those defenders to create chaos. Hopefully your striker gets a tap in goal, but also the defenders crashing back can also get a deflection or something that can result in an own goal. Now, if you get on the ball and you recognize that there's a high defensive line, but there might be traffic in front of you, or maybe a defender's really overly shifted and plugging up that space, you can hit that same pass just in the air. Get it over the first defender, whip it around the first defender, but again, aim for that pocket of space halfway between the goalkeeper and the defensive line for your strikers to run onto it. If you receive the ball in the wide area and you look up and see your strikers making those same runs in the box, but the defensive line is in a much better position and they're not as high, then that's a cue to not play that early cross and instead either dribble down the line or advance the ball up and to see what can change. A lot of times when you keep driving with the ball and you get closer and closer to the end line or to the 18-yard box, sometimes the defensive line will set itself too deep. If you're picking up your head and you're seeing the entire back line set, facing outwards, not recovering back to their own goal, all around the 6-yard box or inside the 6-yard box, then generally the cue here is to look at the penalty spot or the top of the 18. Now let's back up a little bit. Let's say you're driving down the wing with the ball and you're looking up, but that fullback that's marking you is in the exact position that's blocking that cross. Typically, the best thing to do here is to pretend to hit that cross, get that defender to really exaggerate and to expose himself. Then you cut inside on your inside foot. Then when you get into this area, you really want to hit a cross so that it beats the first couple defenders and aim for that back post. I typically like using the far corner of the 6-yard box as my aiming point. Now, sometimes you receive the ball and you pick up your head and you'll see that back line has undershifted, leaving a ton of space near that near post. Typically, when you see this, the best pass to hit is a low driven pass or a curled ball on the ground into this pocket of space at the near post. This allows your strikers to also take the defender away and then to sprint and attack that space. Now on the flip side, if you pick up your head and you're just seeing a ton of opposing players near the near post and they've overshifted to your side, typically then the best ball is to hit more of a chip ball to the back post or a longer range cross so that it hits that back post area where your team has an advantage. Crossing really is just nailing down those 4 different techniques by practicing over and over and over again, and then just getting good at recognizing the back line and where the space is. So anyway, I hope you guys are crossing gods now. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit the like button, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.